Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Ifa.
Great. Yeah. So we're going to give ourselves the next 5 minutes for others to log in, then we'll start. So I will start at exactly 7 minutes past 2 o'clock. So kindly bear with us, then we'll go into full swing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. You're welcome once again to today's IEPA-UCC webinar series, April edition, forgive me. Today we're going to discuss a very interesting topic, which has been couched as reflections of female leadership in education, literature, media and communications in Africa. And our resource person is none other than, I'd like to use the word honorable, Professor Dora Edu-Buandoh, who is the past Pro Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast. And I'm sure we're going to have a very insightful discussion. Well, I'm your moderator for today, and my name is Nani Farrockson, and I know that we are going to have a very insightful discussion today. Now, let us go through briefly a few things before I introduce a resource person. So this is how the program outline looks like. I'm going to give you a brief introduction of IEPA, then how things should run. Then I'll introduce a speaker for today. Then she will take over and have her presentation. Then there'll be questions and answers. Then we will end approximately on time. So let me tell you a little bit about IEPA. Say a little bit about IEPA. IEPA, which stands for the Institute for Educational Planning and Administration, was established in August 1975 based on a joint agreement between the government of Ghana and UNESCO UNDP. The Institute for Educational Planning and Administration was established in August 1975 based on a joint agreement between the government of Ghana and UNESCO UNDP to build and strengthen capacity in educational planning and administration of experts and non-experts, and to inform educational policy formulation and implementation through research. And this has been the core mandate of the Institute for the past 45 years and counting. In November 2020, IEPA officially became a UNESCO Category 2 Center for Excellence for West Africa, and this was launched by the Honorable Minister for Education in June 2021, last year. As a UNESCO Category 2 Center, IEPA is to, among other things, build capacity of the workforce in education sector in the West African sub-region in the areas of educational planning, leadership, and administration, as well as mobilize international and regional experts to provide technical assistance and policy advice to support sector-wide planning and policy development. So this webinar series is one of such events to build capacity geared towards SDG 4. And I entreat all of us to visit the IEPA websites and learn more about our activities, our research, and what we do. Thank you. So, technology has a way of hanging when you need it most. Well, since we started this webinar series, we've had requests for certificates, and we've had various participants who have requested for certificates. So these are a few guidelines as to if you need a certificate. If you want a certificate for this webinar, it's 100 Ghana cedis, and that you can send that money by Momo. We haven't started e-levy, but when e-levy starts, you need to add the e-levy charges because that we cannot absorb it. To mobile number 020-772-8812, and the name on the account is Rex Donto. You can also, after the webinar, send us an email, and I'm sure if we all registered, you registered through this email, that is IEPA.ocpr@ucc.edu.gh, and I'll type this in the chat box as the discussion goes on. And let us know the webinar topic you want a certificate for, and we will communicate with you along the way. So once you indicate you need a certificate, either in the chat box or via email, we'll discuss with you how you get your certificate and arrange for you to get it. Thank you. So I've seen Prof, she's well ready on screen, but who is Professor Dora Edu-Buandoh, who is going to give us the reflections of female leadership in education, literature, media, and communication in Africa? Let me give you a brief introduction of her. So Professor Dora F. Edu-Buandoh is an associate professor of English. She holds a PhD in language, literacy, and culture from the University of IEPA-UCC, an MPhil in English language, a Bachelor of Arts English major, and a diploma in education, all from the University of Cape Coast. Professor Edu-Buandoh has a postgraduate certificate in teaching English to speakers of other languages from the University of Wisconsin, USA. She's also a Fulbright scholar and has published in national and international journals. Prof. Edu-Buandoh just completed serving a 3-year term as the Pro Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast. She has been a lecturer of the University of Cape Coast for over 20 years, 2 decades, wow, and has served as a coordinator of the Communicative Skills Unit, head of the Department of English, Dean of the Faculty of Arts, and Provost for the College of Humanities and Legal Studies. Additionally, she has served on many boards and committees, both in and out of the university. Prof has also served her country in a special way by chairing the Article 71 Presidential Committee on Emoluments for the executives, including the president, the legislature, judiciary, and some prominent commissions of state in the year 2016. Prof. Edu-Buandoh is a member of the Evangelical Methodist Church of Christ, where she serves as the lay chairperson. She loves the youth and serves in many ways to encourage young people to work for God and also work on their own academic and social development. She's a music lover. I've seen her dancing a couple of times, and she enjoys singing and dancing to the glory of God. She's such an inspirational person, and I'm so happy to have her here to discuss her reflections so that we all learn. And as a woman myself, you know, I know that I'm going to learn a lot, and I know participants are also going to learn a lot. So, Prof, you're welcome. We are all ears, and your participants are ready for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lefwa. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm very
going to
happy.
stop sharing my. So, Prof, I've stopped sharing my screen, so you can share your presentation now.
Oh, okay.
If that's okay. Or
then you will have to.
Or do you want me to share it for you?
I think you can share.
Okay.
You can share for me.
Okay, I'll do that.
So, are you ready?
So, Prof.
Can I go ahead now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my greatest pleasure to be part of the IEPA monthly webinar series. And I thank the organizers for inviting me to share my thoughts on the topic selected for today, which is reflections of female leadership in education, literature, media, and communications in Africa. So I will try to speak to the topic and see how we can unpack the issues. I'll talk briefly about early times in our lives, about women in leadership. Then I'll go on to the journey of women in education, literary writing, media, and communication in relation to leadership. Then I'll speak about my own reflections. And then I also talk about leading other women to become leaders. Without referring to any particular time in our lives, the time that I talk about as the early times would be the time when women were not found in leadership. When we look at the issue of female leadership in all spheres of our lives in contemporary Africa, we can say that women have moved on from the lowest level to climb up to the top of organizations. But the climb, we all know, hasn't been easy. Our traditional setup has been such that we have been socialized as women into specific roles and responsibilities. And we have been acting these roles and engaging these responsibilities without actually considering whether we want a change or not. When we think that we want a change, we find that the change has been a little difficult or challenging, not because women didn't want a change to also climb to the top of the ladder, but the status quo was making it a little difficult for women to change. So without referring to any particular time, I can say that there were few women in leadership in academia, in literary writing, in media, and in communication. And if we look at education, which is where I come from, you will realize that the absence of women in leadership in education reinforced gender inequities in all spheres of career lives. Because there weren't many women in leadership in education, most girls did not actually see role models up there to look up to them. Very few of us were helped by men and some women to get to where we are now. So the absence of women in leadership in education had a way of reinforcing gender inequities. And the journey to promote women into leadership was greatly enhanced from the Beijing conference till now. Now we can say that you will find women in leadership, in education, in the media, in literary writing, in communication. But we can also say that there are still challenges. There are still challenges that women face if they have to get to the top. I keep saying that there weren't many women because I remember when I was appointed a lecturer, assistant lecturer in the Department of English, there were only 2 of us women in the department. There were about 8 or 10 men, but there were only 2 of us women. And the 2 of us were also the only women in the whole faculty. And the faculty had about 8 departments. And we were the only women in the faculty. So there weren't many women. That was in the 90s. There weren't many women then. For me, I saw the one person I met who actually taught me as the role model to look up to and try to become somebody like her. So those early times did not actually show women pushing up to leadership positions. But after the Beijing conference, when the awareness was created over all the world, people started working towards supporting women to get to leadership position. I can say that for us in Africa, and especially Ghana, we were helped by the awareness created by women who helped in UN positions, women who held UN positions elsewhere. The International Women's Day, which has been projected and promoted so much, also created awareness for us. There were feminist groups, and I know that they were not received positively in many African contexts because of our traditional setup. But some feminist groups also helped to project women in Africa into leadership. And then gender advocates who were both men and women also helped us somehow to realize that women can get up to the top and occupy leadership positions. Of course, women organizations helped themselves to show that we can get up to the top. And then researchers like those of us on this webinar and our graduate students decided to also try and research into how women can get to the top rank of the ladder. So the contemporary times have been helped so much by these organizations and groups. And that is why some of us can get to the place where we are now. We know that education is a great tool for change, and the education of women is the most effective means for reducing the inequalities between men and women and guaranteeing full participation of women in socioeconomic development process. We know that. And the United Nations has done well, UNESCO, UNFPA, with the initiatives that it started to get young girls to stay in school, to get to school, and also stay in school. And education has been the best tool for change in our society. The focus on girl-child education in Ghana and other parts of the continent has brought some changes. If you take Nigeria, for instance, the initiative on keeping girls in school brought some changes in Nigeria. Education has been a great boost to bridge the gap between men and women, and to also keep the populace healthy and well educated, because if the young girl is educated, if the mother is educated, you are sure that the children will have better lives. And as the World Economic Forum 2020 report said, that Sub-Saharan Africa is making considerable progress as far as women participation at all levels is concerned. I think it is because now there are a lot more women educated than we had a decade ago or 2 decades ago. And this attitude is driven by education of the girl child. With the increase in education of females, we have had considerable progress in participation of women in various levels of the economy in Africa. And UNESCO attributes this progress to education and also affirmative action policies. Now we can look around and point to women who are occupying very high positions, not only African women, I mean, not only in Africa, but also in the world. Yes, we have chalked some successes with getting women to get to the leadership positions, but we also have some challenges that we need to work on. ESSA Africa, ESSA is Education Sub-Saharan Africa. It's an organization that tries to trace the development of education in Africa. And they have said that in one of their studies that while 47% of women are not satisfied with their current leadership development, 86% of women are aspiring to become leaders. 32% think that they have the barrier to becoming leaders, and that barrier is mainly sociocultural expectations. Although there is some progress, more women are eager to participate at higher levels of leadership, but they haven't got there yet. Women are disadvantaged because they are women. The patriarchal society does not help them much to get to the decision-making table, and very few are still able to break the ceiling. If the study said that the women who want to get to the leadership positions hit barriers because there are sociocultural expectations, I think most of us who are women, who are career women, who are professionals, we can attest to that. And I think that the barriers, the sociocultural expectations can be looked at in 2 different ways. And I always refer to the double binds, that we have some double binds. And these double binds present themselves as barriers for women to get to the leadership positions, the top of the rank of the ladder. And one is that women who are educated, who have interest in becoming leaders, who are aspiring to develop as leaders, or who are even leaders now, they have to perform their career and they have to also perform family duties. When I say they have to perform their career, it means whichever career they are in, there are expectations, there are duties, responsibilities that they have to perform. If they are in education, if they are in higher education, they need to engage in all the things that they have to do for them to develop in their career. So if they are lecturers, they need to teach, they need to do their research and publish, they need to also do community service. If they are people in literary writing, they have to sit and write their literary works. If they are in any other business, they have to do that because that is their career. And nobody will say that because you are a woman, the bar is lowered for you to succeed. The bar is at par for both women and men. But the woman will also have to perform family duties that will demand a lot of her time. You have to make unusual efforts to succeed. So you are performing the career of a lecturer, but you are also taking care of the family, which is expected of you. It's a social-cultural expectation. And sometimes we think that these come to us easily, but they do not. You have to juggle them for you to be able to succeed. I was telling a colleague that there was a time, it was Christmas, that we were about to break, 23rd, we were going to break and go home for Christmas. And if you are a woman, you know that's the time you do your shopping, you shop for the family, and you do all kinds of things. And there was a meeting scheduled for late afternoon. And I was sitting there and the meeting was going on and on and on and on. And I was thinking about when am I going to get the time to go and do my grocery shopping and my Christmas shopping? So at a point, I had to tell colleagues that, you know what, most of you are men, your wives are shopping for you, but I have to go and shop for my family. It was funny, but that was what I had to do for them to realize that we cannot sit there and go on and on and on and on. I was performing career, but I also needed to perform family duties because I cannot go home and say, oh, I was in the meeting the whole day, so I couldn't go and do our Christmas shopping. So no, sorry about that, no. And this is expected of career women. And you need to succeed in both. The other double bind that I talk about is performing as a man and performing as a woman. If you were in leadership and you are female, you are expected as a female leader to prove yourself twice. First, you have to prove that you are capable to lead strongly as men do. And also prove that you have the nurturing qualities of a woman. And these are actually, they are different paths. But as a female leader, you have to do that. So while women are trying to occupy leadership positions in every sphere of our lives, there are these sociocultural expectations that hinder our progress. And a writer, Claire Booth Luce, said that because I'm a woman, I must make unusual efforts to succeed. And I'm quoting her, if I fail, no one will say she doesn't have what it takes. They will say women don't have what it takes. So if you are a female in leadership, it's as if you are representing all women, all career women. Because if you fail, you will be judged as the woman who couldn't perform. It wouldn't be you as a person who couldn't perform. So it is very, very important that female leaders consider these double binds and manage them somehow so that they can succeed. But I think it is also up to society to consider this. I was reading somewhere in the literature where somebody suggested that if society or if organizations would want to help women who are aspiring to develop as leaders to realize their goal, then there should be a way where women will be considered in terms of the quality of work they do rather than the quantity. I'll leave that for another discussion because I know people want to ask whether you are asking about affirmative action. But female leadership in education in our country has improved in numbers and in quality of leadership. Presently, we have 2 female vice chancellors. We have 1 female pro vice chancellor. We have many female heads of secondary schools and colleges of education. When I reflect on my own story of leadership, I see what I'm sure every female leader in a job that is male-dominated feels, and that is the double bind and acceptance. Although we keep saying that we are increasing, we are progressing, we also note that across sub-Saharan Africa, only 2.5% of vice chancellors are women. If you look at the literature, you realize that, as I said, Ghana has 2 now, Nigeria 2 out of 15. Nigeria has 9 out of 171. So we are gradually getting to the top, but we are nowhere near the top. And if you consider, as McKinsey says, that women make up 43% of those who receive tertiary education, and we hold 28% of formal sector jobs, then it means there is still some miles that we should make. If you look at leadership in education, again, you would think that it's a very tricky issue because if you consider the basic level of education, the secondary level of education, you realize that a lot of the professionals there are women. But when it comes to the heads, those who take the leadership roles and those who run or those who occupy the policy-making seats, they are not women. So yes, there are women who are leading as vice chancellors, a few of them as vice chancellors, as administrators, but there are still a lot of things that we need to do. The gap is still very, very wide. If I leave my own education and then I come to the media, you also realize that it is not only education where there is paucity of women at the top. In the media, women are found mostly in the newsroom, very few at the decision-making table. And it's also because media is male-dominated. Females are presented in ways that do not complement the gender. And if women are at the decision-making tables, I believe that females will be presented better than we are doing now. Most of the time, we see women at the newsroom, in the media. When it comes to the social media, if it comes to the new media, you see all the movies and other than the popular culture, you see women. But then you will always realize that the position occupied by that woman, even if it's a movie, the character, the roles given to these women are not as high as the men we have in the movies or in popular culture. It is part of the social cultural setup, but we need to work at it. If we understand the lived experiences of African women in media, we will know that it's essential to have agendas that will ensure that the countries and media organizations create the enabling environment for women in media to also execute their work. I'm very, very sure that those few women or females who are occupying leadership roles in the media would share the experiences that those of us in leadership positions in education have. It wouldn't be very different. And if there are more women in leadership in media, as I've already said, there will be more stories about women, and the stories about women will be produced and distributed fairly. Produced and distributed fairly to project women as successful people, as intelligent people who can also occupy positions of responsibilities. There will be better role models for younger female generations of media practitioners to understand that their place is not only in the newsroom, and that their place could also be in the boardroom. And if we have more women in leadership in media, I'm sure that the media houses themselves will be led consciously to avoid and counter narratives that reinforce gender stereotypes. Literature, women in leadership in literature. I think the story is the same in every sphere of our development as females trying to be leaders or aspiring to be leaders. In literary circles, there were initially very few female authors struggling to be recognized. Most African writers we knew were males who were writing on post-colonial themes. We all know about authors such as Achebe, we know the Koblasechis, the Ngujis, we know all these, Ayukoyames, and all those who rose up during the early post-colonial era to write about Africa, to write novels, to write poems, drama, all about Africa. When we talk about African literature and we talk about the canon, we talk about these males. We do not talk about the women. We do not talk about those who rose up with them, the Mariam Abbas, the Bessie Heads, the Amatedus, Flora and Wappers. We do not talk about them. It's only in recent times. It's only in recent times that we talk about these female literary writers. And it is so, just a mirror of our society, just a mirror of our society. But it's actually refreshing that in recent times we've had young, very young literary writers coming up across the continent to write about the plight of women and to project women in their writings. The Adichis, the Darkos, they all coming up to write about the feminist thought, they're writing about the woman as a strong character. And these contemporary writers are actually solidifying the writings of those who came early, who did not get the recognition that they should have had, because those days, women writers were not that recognized. The representation of women in early African writers were just like what was in the society. There was gender stereotyping with men as a dominant gender and women as subservient. But with the coming of the female African writer, female images are now mostly positive and actually reflect what women should be seen for. And so we give to our students, not just the girls, but also the boys, novels or stories like The Girl Who Can, and other stories, the Purple Hibiscus, and other stories for them to realize that women can also be leaders in the society. And I'm glad that female writers who came in joined with a feminine voice and wrote to project the image of women in traditional African society to pave way for contemporary female African authors. It doesn't matter if you are male or female. Once you are a leader, you have to create opportunities for others to develop their potential. And this responsibility, I'm sure, is not lost on female leaders in education, media, communication, literature only, but also on all other women who have risen to get to the top. So I use a quote of Anne Paulina, who says that leaders have a responsibility to open doors and create opportunities for others and to support them to reach their full potential. If we go back to the early literary writers, that was exactly what they did. They did not rest on their oars. They were not content with what they had, but they offered the opportunity for young authors to learn the roots and to also write, and this time to write and project females. So despite the challenges that female leaders or those who are aspiring to be leaders face, there's a growing proportion of women who are breaking through the glass ceiling. And they're able to break through because of our contemporary access to education and work opportunities, the good mentoring, and I would say by both men and women. If we have got here, it's not just women who mentored female leaders, but also men. I always make reference to my professor, Professor Jansen, who actually held my hand and said that, Dora, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do that to be able to succeed in our profession. So there are men, great men, who mentored leaders who are females and not only male leaders. Some of us have also been able to break the glass ceiling because of support from family, our employers, supervisors, our teachers and colleagues, and by successful lobbying by gender advocates. If we want to help people, it means we need to help ourselves, get ourselves fit to be able to help others. If we do not have what it takes to become a leader, we cannot help others to be leaders. Now there is increase in female in higher education, increase in female in faculty population, increase in women in leadership in education, literary work, media and communication, increase in women in politics, and increased recognition for professional women. These are all gains that we have had from the early times. And with these, those of us who have been able to reach the top, we must support those who are still climbing to be able to climb safely. And I look at increase in women in politics, and I tell myself how difficult it is for women to get into politics, especially in my country, in Ghana. We don't have that many, but those who are there are working very hard. Because as soon as you declare that you're going into politics, all kinds of things will be said about you. Things that you don't know about yourself, they will be said in public. So most women do not want to get there. But in recent times, we've had other people, other women and men who have mentored younger women into politics to become leaders in their various countries in Africa. We have had women who have become presidents in some countries in Africa. And when we look at them, the younger generation of women coming up, look at them and tell themselves that if these people have been leaders in their country, then we can also be leaders. So the topic is about my journey as a leader in education. My 13 years, so my reflections, my 13 years as a leader in education. I started as a coordinator of communicative skills unit. Then I became a head of department of English. Then a dean of the Faculty of Arts, provost of College of Humanities and Legal Studies, and then the Pro Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast. These are different levels of management in higher education, and different leadership roles are expected. So when I got to any of these, I had to take on additional responsibilities. And I must say that my experience hasn't been different from what I have talked about earlier. As a woman, you have to prove yourself twice. And for me, the part that sticks most is that I had to act strongly like a man and also act like a woman. Because you are a woman, and so you must act like a woman. That comes naturally. So it came naturally to me. But the part I had to learn was to be strong as if I was a man. Because whatever you do, you will be described in one of two ways. Oh, if it were a man, the decision would have been different. Or, oh, she is doing this because she is a woman. And I personally do not want to be categorized into either man or woman, but I wanted to be seen as a head of department, a dean, a provost, and a pro vice chancellor. What helped me was that I had to look at those who came before me and to see how I can fit into the role that I had to occupy and to work to the best of my ability so that nobody will judge me and say, oh, she couldn't do it because she's a woman. Because as I said earlier, they wouldn't say she couldn't do it because she's Dora, but they'll say she couldn't do it because she's a woman. And I had this at the back of my mind that at any given point that I was occupying any leadership position, I was a representative of all women. And that actually strengthened me a lot to do whatever I had to do. In all these various roles, I am very, very sure that I discharged myself very well, not because I am a superhuman or a superwoman, but because I also got support from some men and a lot of women. I think that if you are a female leader, you cannot box yourself into only trying to satisfy women. You have to consider that the society is made up of both men and women. And in all your activities, you should consider that you are trying to be fair to every gender. And I try to the best of my ability to do that. I also knew that to lead, you need to prepare yourself to fit into the leadership positions. So I equipped myself, I trained myself, I got my academic qualifications that would enable me to occupy the position, which means for aspiring females who are aspiring to be leaders, you cannot just sit down and think that because the world is now looking at how women can become leaders and you are a woman, it will just be given to you. No, you need to prepare yourself to fit into the position. So I prepared myself. I got my degrees that I needed to fit into the position of a lecturer. And then when I became a lecturer, I prepared myself professionally to become a leader. I trained to get management skills, to get administrative skills, to learn soft skills and all that, so that I can be a professional lecturer and a professional higher education manager. Another thing that I also did was to build my personality, especially my interpersonal relationship. I realized very early when I became the coordinator of communicative skills unit, I realized that you must be a people person to succeed as a female leader. You cannot be a boss to succeed as a female leader. Maybe men can be bosses and succeed, but if you are a female leader, you have to build your personality. You must have a personality that is welcoming. You must be able to relate with all kinds of people, irrespective of their status in the university, irrespective of their status in your organization, to be able to lead and lead successfully. So I tried to build my personality. I equipped myself with soft skills, especially how to manage conflict, how to manage people. I also learned to delegate my responsibilities and support those that I give my responsibilities to so that they can succeed. Because if you delegate your responsibility to a junior person and you do not support the person with the tools and the necessary wherewithal to engage in that activity, and the person fails, it is you who has failed. So when I delegate my responsibilities, I also support the person to succeed. I also tried to respect teamwork and what everybody brings to the table. I believe that everybody has something to say which is worth listening to. And I took interest in the lives of people I work with. When I sit down and reflect over my journey as a leader, a female leader in education, I will say that all those who worked with me, I knew them. And I knew them because I kept asking about their lives outside the office. And that helped me a lot, because if I knew where they had problems and there's a way I can help, then I will help them so that they can discharge themselves very well. And this is the female part, the nurturing part of the female leader. But then when it comes to working, we make sure that we all work to the best of our ability. I tried to work towards excellence, but I also accommodated errors, because all the people that I worked with were humans, and human beings sometimes have failings. So these are things that helped me in managing my leadership journey. And when I got to the top, when I rose through these various points and got to the top, I told myself that I need to be emphatic, adaptive, friendly, and focused. Most of the time, people say that females who occupy leadership positions are very difficult to deal with. I don't think so. I think individuals are difficult to deal with. If they are difficult in their own personal ways to deal with, then when they get to the top, it will be difficult for you to deal with them. So I had a goal that I should be emphatic, I should be empathic, I should be adaptive, I should be friendly and focused, so that people can access the work that I do. It was also my goal to mentor younger colleagues, both male and female, to develop their careers. And I took this from my mentor, that very soon people will leave, and so you will also leave. And when you leave, who is going to work for you? Who is going to take the work that you were doing and do it well? So I tried to mentor younger colleagues, both male and female, to develop their careers. And it was also my goal to project early career women toward the roles leadership positions. So whenever there was a committee to be set up, I actually requested that we put a female on it. Sometimes, no, I think spontaneously, people think about putting people in committees, but then you have to make a conscious effort to push early career women to also get to the top by going through the ropes. It was also my goal to be a successful leader, and that one is judged by those I worked with, and to leave a legacy of a better human resource. The people who went through my hands to become leaders, they should be a better human resource for my organization. So I have been a female leader in education, and I believe female leaders in other fields also have their own goals. And the world has progressed a little to accommodate women leaders in even male-dominated institutions, but we still have to push. We still have to push. Those of us who are literary writers, we can help those who are coming up by giving them some clinics so that they can also get to the top and become leaders in their fields. Those of us who are in the media, we can help those who are coming up to also get the skills that they need so that they can also get to the top. Because I believe that if we have a lot of women leaders, our world will be a better place. I believe strongly that this will be a better place if we push ourselves to it. I was reading a part of Forbes and I came across it. I said, oh, wow, maybe I can share this. And it was written by Cassandra Frangos. He said that, and I'm quoting it, he said that in my experience, advising women CEOs or those aspiring to the C-suite, one commonality I see is a holistic approach to leadership and to the organization. This includes balancing financial and performance results with goals of increasing diversity on leadership teams, an inclusive culture, and driving positive change. And more studies show that this mix can be a potent one. And if you read it further, you also say that females in leadership positions are noted for these qualities. So if females in leadership positions have these qualities, then if we get a lot more females in leadership positions, in education, in media, in communication, every sphere of our lives, then we actually will have a better economy. And that is what we should work at. And if you read further from her work, it says that a 2021 analysis by Standard & Poor's Global with researchers from the University of Paris found that female CEOs illustrated greater empathy, adaptability, and diversity more frequently than their male peers. So words like empathy, intuition, compromise, and compassion may have been viewed as soft in previous decades, but now they are viewed as increasingly necessary in the workplace. So, and that is what she says. So the traits that women had in abundance some years ago, and they were not recognized because they were not strong traits. If these traits are now what the world needs, then it is important that a lot of women ascend the ladders to get to the top so that we can have a better world. So if our educational institutions, if our media houses, if our other institutions in our lives are bringing women up to occupy leadership roles, I am very, very sure that the organizations will make, if they are profit-making organizations, they will make a lot more profits. And if they are institutions like ours, the management would be better because we come with the soft skills that manage people. And so we should get the support to come up to complement the men. I know that just soft skills will not make it, but we need to bring the soft skills to complement the strong skills that we say men have so that we can together build our world. So as women leaders, as I end, as women leaders, we should strive to change the culture of our institutions and inspire aspiring female leaders while ensuring that quality and productivity is not compromised. We are not saying that females should be given leadership roles when they haven't prepared themselves, when they haven't gained their academic, their professional, and the skills that they need to come up. What we're saying is that when you have females occupying leadership roles, they do a lot better than what you think they can do. So let us give them the chance to occupy the leadership roles. And we should be mentoring and supporting aspiring female leaders so they can take on positions in their own right and not wait for affirmative action. I believe strongly in that. We should give them the opportunities to take positions in their own right because they qualify for it, and that they shouldn't be waiting for affirmative action. Affirmative action is good in some situations, but I believe that if you are put there as a leader, just because you are a woman, it is just like tokenism, and people will not even respect you for that. But when you prepare yourself as a female aspiring to be a leader, and you get to the leadership role, then people will take you seriously because you already have the skills, you have the tools, you've built yourself well for the activities that you will engage in. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll end with Dolly Parton. Remember, I said I love music. If your actions create a legacy that inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are an excellent leader. And I hope that every female who is occupying leadership role will be able to do this. I hope I have been able to do that as a female leader in education. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Wow. Thank you very much, Professor Dora Edu-Buandoh. That was a very insightful presentation. And there are some questions and comments that have come in. But I want you to get yourself a sip of water. Okay. Before we move into the next stage, which is the question and answers. And there was also a comment, I didn't want to disrupt your presentation, that we can see your beautiful face. So if you can
reposition my beautiful face.
We can see you very well. So if you can reposition yourself, I think the lightning so that we can really see you very well, it will help us. And
is it better?
Yes, it's much, much better. Thank you very much. Thank you
Sorry
very
about
much.
that.
No, it's okay. I mean, so Prof, I
Yes.
picked, and I want to talk about the quotable quote I got from this whole presentation before I move to the questions, because he said something which is very profound and resonates with me, which says that if you do not have what it takes to help others become leaders, you cannot become effective at leadership. And by that, you develop yourself academically, having soft skills and all that, so that at the end of the day, when you become a leader, you have what it takes to be effective at that. And I think that's a very strong point that it's a takeaway from me. Thank you. We've also had a few questions that have come in, and I'm going to read them, and you will try and answer them. And if we have questions, kindly let your questions and comments come in the chat box. So the first question was from, I think, Abdullah, if I'm certain about that. And it says that, isn't the expression performing as a man a deepening of male-female gender stereotypes, stereotypic roles? Why not performing to the expected standards? So that's the question. Because I think you made mention of the fact that you need to perform as a man. So isn't that a deepening of male-female gender stereotyping? Why not perform to the expectations or the operating standards? So what are your comments on that for us, Prof?
Yes. You see, what is the standard, and who determines the standard? if you have a boardroom where 95% of the members are males who determine the standard of the operations of the institution. So most of what we call the standard, you realize that they have been set by leaders who are not females. And so the standard is that you do A, B, C, D, E, and those standards do not work for the woman. And that is what people expect. So if you cannot do that, then it means you have failed as a woman. And as I said, if I was the only female dean for a long time. I was the only female provost. There hasn't been any female provost. I was the first female Pro Vice Chancellor. So all these years that the university was running, which people were creating the standard. And so I need to perform that standard, which has been created mostly by men. And they, naturally had created the standard that fits them. So if I say that you have to perform the man, that is what the standard is. It is not the standard that has been structured by an organization that has maybe half women, half men deciding on what to do. There is always the standard which has been determined by mostly men. It is not about deepening the gap, the gender gap. It is about creating the awareness that we need to change something. I don't have to perform to the standards that has been set by only men. I need to have somebody out there who will help in creating the standard that will also be good for women. But if it is a standard that has been set many years ago and I have to perform it, obviously it wasn't set up with me in mind. So it is still the expectation that people would want from a boss who is a man. And that is why we have to get many women to go out there so that in the decision making, when they are resetting the standards, they will do it.
I hope everything is settled. And you are still there. You started before he came. You have
Can we please mute ourselves, please? Prof, for that interruption, you can go on.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that I'm not trying to deepen the gap. I'm rather saying that those standards were set mainly by men, and so they didn't have us in mind. But now we need to have many women out there so that when they are resetting the standards, they will think about women.
Thank you very much, Prof, for that explanation. I think there is another question which is related to that, and it's how, if you can expand on the point that you made, that you have to be a male and a female at the same time in order to succeed. So how do you play that role of being a man and a female in order to succeed as a leader? If you can expand a little bit on that.
Yeah, it's related to the early question that you have to act in both genders. You have to be, women, they said that women are effeminate. We are soft skills. And I ended by saying that all these soft skills that some time ago we looked down on, now we think they are the skills that you need to succeed. So women have a lot of these skills. We are people who listen. We are people who care about other people's needs. We have been brought up, socialized into nurturing people. But when you get to the position of a leader and you are female, you cannot use only those ones, because there will be people who will be, who will need that you crack the whip. And there will be people who would need that you act very, very, very strongly, or that you are harsh in a certain kind of way. You close your eyes to the feminine part and you act like her. No, and if you go to our various homes, we have that. So sometimes you need to dwell more on your feminine skills, but other times you need to learn masculine skills and apply that, because you cannot be soft, soft, soft all the way. Otherwise, they will say, oh, this woman is a walkover. You can just go and then she will be a mother. But there are times you don't have to be that. And if you're able to manage the two, if you're able to bring the two together and still negotiate your way very well, then you come up as a leader that people will look up to, because you know when to draw from the well of the soft skills and when to draw from the well of the hard, difficult, harsh decisions. You don't have to be all soft, soft. Sometimes we get into, some female leaders get into the situation where they are very conscious of their feminine skill, their soft skills, and because they fought very hard to get to their positions, they think that I must be very, very harsh for people to say that I can do it like a man. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about bridging the two. You must bridge the two. Otherwise, you cannot succeed. There are times you have to be very, very strong and harsh. There are times you have to draw from your feminine soft skills. And I think when you're able to bring the two together, that is when you can lead very well as a female leader.
Thank you very much, Prof. It's a balancing act indeed, yeah. And I think you did that very well as Pro VC. I mean, I was watching you and learning from you from afar. And I know that, and from comments that others have made, I know that you were very fair, at the same time also flexible. there's another question from I think Ras Akolache, and I would like to read it. It's a long one, so please bear with me. So thank you, Prof. Dora, for acknowledging the men, myself included, as your classmate, and he says this with a smile, who in various ways contributed to your journey. My question is, since most humans spend their formative years under the influence of mothers, women, how best can mothers, women help in the gradual dismantling of the so-called patriarchy in the way they raise both their sons and daughters? Dismantling the so-called patriarchy in the way they raise both their sons and daughters. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's good to see that you are on the platform. Yes, the children grow up mostly with mothers. These days, this is changing. They grow up mostly with households. But even with households, they are mostly women. I think what we can do as mothers and as fathers is to train our sons very well to accept that women complement men. If we train our sons well, we'll be tackling the issue right from the source. But if we allow our sons to grow up the way that we grew up, in my house, when I was growing up, we had boys' chores, we had girls' chores. The things that we did at home, the boys did not do that. But apart from that, we carried wares and sold wares. The boys never were asked to carry wares and sell. So in a way, that division, the social expectation was made clear to us. But I think for those of us now in our contemporary world, we must train our sons to recognize that women complement men just as men complement women. And so if a woman can work and get to the top, just as a man can work and get to the top, then the woman should be given the opportunities to do that. If we do not start from that source of training our sons to recognize that their sisters can also become leaders, then when they become bosses, they will make sure that no woman comes up to where they are. And there are many like that in the world.
Thank you, Prof. There's also a few questions that have come in. One of them is, in your career, what are some of the most dangerous behavior traits that you have seen that derail female ladies' career?
Sorry, the most dangerous what?
Dangerous behavior traits that you have seen that derail female leaders' careers.
I will say that one of them is to think too highly of yourself. If you think too highly of yourself, if you are haughty, you are somebody who thinks that, yes, I fought very hard to get to this position and nobody can come near me, it will actually derail your career. Because people will fear you, but they will not respect you. People will fear you, they will not respect you. And when they fear you, they will do the work that they have to do. They will not go the extra mile to help you to succeed. But as a leader, you need people who will go the extra mile to help you to succeed. So you should make sure that you don't go about throwing yourself about as if you are the best thing that happened to human beings, you know? Because if you are haughty, people will undermine your work and there's no way you will succeed. Very few female leaders get into financial issues. Very few female leaders get their careers truncated or become unsuccessful because of financial impropriety. And I don't know whether it's because we keep the purse and we go to the market most of the time, so we know how to calculate our money. But most female leaders I have come across are very, very truthful to their work and they work very well. But I think that what I have seen around, if you are haughty, if you do not respect your subordinates, you can't be successful.
Thank you, Prof. I think that's a feather in our cap as female leaders. So let's continue to be truthful and work on the other aspects of it. I have a hand up, Uche Emetarom.
Yes,
Yes,
please.
so
Thank
you have the floor now. You can ask Prof your question.
Okay. Prof, well done, Prof. Dora.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to see your face, beautiful face. One of our greatest global female leaders. You are see you. But I just want to make a few comments. I don't know if there will be few. I just hope I will not be delivering another lecture, another presentation. My name is Professor Uche Grace Emetarom. I'm from Nigeria. I lecture in a state university, Abia State University. And my thesis, my PhD thesis is on gender and women assuming roles, top management positions. When I did that, I discovered that many women have assumed positions, even in the universities, like you said. In my department then, we were one of the few, maybe we're about 3 in the department. And I finally became the first female head of. I first became the first female in my professional association, the 7th female. Now, things have changed. We are no longer in the Beijing Declaration. A lot has changed, but there's still a lot to be done. Now, I want to first ask you a question, then I'll proceed. Who was your mentor, male or female?
I actually had 2, male and female.
Now, who was the best out of the 2?
The male.
Good. Thank you very much, because that supports what I was just going to say. our problem, our problem is ourselves. I was to deliver a paper in the International Women's Day on the 8th in Kenya. And the topic I chose was self-inflicted barriers. Self-inflicted, we inflict those barriers on ourselves. Prof, we have what it takes for us to lead. It's in us. I found out that the Chambulis in Papua New Guinea, the women are the ones that run the home. They only bear the children because biologically God has given them that. But as soon as they put down their babies, the men take over. The men stay home. They go seek for food. They climb palm trees, they climb trees, they do everything and bring back food home. And that shows that they are not alone. They take up those leadership positions. We too do have that. So when we say that we have to assume men's role and add it to, no, it's in us. It's inherent in us. That is why women can play dual roles, a lot of balls in the air. The only thing is that we bring it out. We have not worked hard enough to bring it, to showcase it. I'll give you an example. In my class, when I start a first semester, second, whenever I start a lesson, I ask,
Prof, if you can summarize for us, please.
Yes,
because there are other questions here.
I will summarize.
Thank you.
I will ask the class, who do you want to be a class rep? And you can see there are 15 females and 2 males. And all the females will be saying, John, John, John. And I say, why John? There are many of you here. And I will convince one of them to be one, and then one of the males become assistant. And they find that there is nothing in it. Now, I went through statistics and I saw that the population of males to females are almost the same. There are a few countries, just about 5 countries, where the population is less than 40, and maybe just 1 or 2, 30-something% to that of the men. We have the number. We have what it takes. Our problem is ourselves. Prof, when you were rising, as I was doing, I have a lot of experiences too. I am still being mentored by males. Females, you want to mentor them, they don't agree. They look at you from head to toe and wonder, oh, is this person that is, I mean, and you're not asking them to pay you. You want to give back, but they are not agreeing that they should be mentored. Now, all those qualities you said you garnered, watch your fellow women. They are very angry that you're getting all those shine. When you see females and males, you see younger females, they hardly will greet you, but they will greet a younger male beside you. They will look at you from head to toe. It doesn't happen like that. Take voting. If you will analyze voting in every country, see that only males vote, no females vote for females. In my country, the one woman that died 4 years ago only voted for herself. So it's a self-inflicted thing. And I think we have to look at curriculum, get to education, and see how we put that into our curriculum to see how we tell our females, you can't grow despite all the qualities you have. Your fellow females will be the ones to start pulling you down. The males are my friends. They will help they keep your secrets, but the females don't. So let us see how we can infuse that into curriculum.
Thank you very much.
To tell our females. Before you talked about relationship, your relationship with your fellow women is not as much as good as that of your males. This is where our problem lies, because we have moved on, but we are not rising. Once we neglect this and start blaming culture, start blaming males, I don't blame males, then we are going the wrong path. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much, Professor Enestrom. Emetarom.
Yes, I'm a
thank
female.
You very much.
I'm a female too.
Yes. Thank you very much. But there are a few things I'd like to say about your comments. Yes, after Beijing, we've had a lot of gains, but we also know that whatever we have in our institutions is a mirror of what we have in the bigger society. And that's why when Ras asked me, I said that we need to start from the home to train our sons to accept women. If the young girls coming up see that in the society, men are the ones who should take leadership roles. Of course, they will allow them, they will ask that they take the leadership roles. But are we nurturing them to understand that they complement them and that they can both take leadership roles? And that the expression that women are their own enemies, I don't think it is wholly right, because when we say women are their own enemies, can we say that men are their own enemies too? Because we have men fighting men for positions and we have women fighting women for positions. I think what we're saying is that if you look at the demographics now, we are still very low there and we need to come up. And coming up means we should start from the source and train our girls to come up. In Ghana, in recent times, people say that we are focusing on girl child education and leaving the boy child. Very soon, we will have to do a boy child education initiative. Maybe that is true, but we haven't still got where we think that women are at par with men. And if the whole country, like Ghana, we have 15 public universities, and we have only 2 female vice chancellors. Is it because women are not supporting them to be vice chancellors? No, it is because when you take the women who can apply to be vice chancellor, they are so few. So we need to educate our girls, let them stay in school, let them get what it needs to get to the leadership positions, the academic qualifications, the professional qualifications, and the personal skills. We cannot leave any of these and expect that the girls will learn by themselves, because what they see in the society is what they mirror in the classroom and in the institutions. At home, they see that the top is the father and their brothers. So when they take the decisions for them. So when they come to school, obviously they will either they do it until we ourselves consciously train them to understand that we are working for the same thing, but we are working as colleagues, as in complementary roles. So I think that just as you find men who will fight other men for positions, you also find women who will fight other women for the positions. You will find men who disregard other men, just as you find women who will disregard other women. And that is why I said in my presentation that those of us who have been able to get to these positions, we must make sure that we train the others to also come up. There are many who want to be leaders. So those of us who have become leaders, we should bring them up and we should train them. We should give them positions so that they can acquire the skills they need to get to the top. If we leave it to them to do it themselves, it may not happen, because very few people will get male mentors who will give them mentorship that will push them to that position. I was fortunate. I had a female and a male, but I can tell the male pushed me harder than the female. It doesn't mean that the female didn't care about my progression. So I think we should note that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof, for that feedback to Prof. Uche's comments and questions. Well, I'm going to read a few comments that we've received, because we are now in extra time. So forgive me for taking a bit of your time, but let me read this. Thank you, Prof, very much. Very insightful and excellent presentation. Thank you, Auntie Dora, for the wonderful presentation. An inspiring presentation for all aspiring leaders. Great presentation, Prof. So, I mean, people have really learned so much from you, and that's the whole essence of this webinar series. So thank you very much, Prof. There are also a few comments on the discussions that have gone in. And one says that, and that's from Rasa Kolache, are we suggesting that there's no objective standard devoid of the gendered? That is a question. Then I think he goes on to also say that I agree with the balancing act, blending the masculine and the feminine, but I want to put on record, meanness and harshness are not masculine traits. They are purely the pathologies of flawed humans. Let's be careful about gendered labeling. Thank you, Russ. I think that's well noted. Then there's a comment which also says that you push yourself first before anybody push you, just like me. Oh, that's from Prof. Uche. Now, last reflection or question for you, Prof, whilst we bring this webinar to a close. What are the fond memories you have, and as you were on the seat as Pro VC? Somebody's asking this. Any fond memories you want to share with us so that we also learn from it?
Yes, I will say that whenever there was a challenge, a problem, and I was able to resolve that problem, it made me feel very, very good. I can point to an issue where I had 3 people, 2 junior staff and 1 person from outside the university who were in a conflict. Somehow, the person from outside the university got my number and gave it to a politician to call me. And when I called for them to come for a discussion, I actually had to think very, very, very fast on my feet to make sure that I'm not swayed by what the politician said, and that I will be firm and fair. And when everything settled, I was very happy with the decisions that we all took, because it came out not as my decision, and everybody went out happy that the issue has been resolved. And I was happy because I wasn't swayed by what the politician asked me to do, but I still got the results that I wanted to have. And I was very, very happy about it. There were also occasions where people came to me with their personal issues, and sometimes I couldn't help them because I wasn't in a position to help them, because it would be against the university's rules and regulations. But when I was able to explain to them, they said that, oh, now I understand. And they went out happy, although their issues were not resolved, they went out happy. Those were the fond memories that I have from that office. Everything else was doing administrative work, but these were impacting people's lives. And I have fond memories of that.
I think we've lost you there, Prof.
Oh, really?
Okay, yes, we lost you there, but yeah, I think the point is well made. Being fair and firm, and you able to help people were one of your fondest moments. And I think it's gratifying as a human being that when you're able to impact lives, you also feel fulfilled in doing that. Thank you. So
can I say something? Can I just make one observation, please?
Is that Prof?
Yes, it's me.
Okay,
yes,
so you have 60 seconds.
Half a minute, yes. There was something Prof said that women occupying positions, they say, no, women are too strict, they are too that. No, the problem is, and later she said that when women occupy position, if a lot of women occupy positions, see, the world will be a better place for us. That is true. The world will be a better place for us because women, just look at most women who occupy positions. I won't say all, but most. I'm taking statistics. The significant number occupying those positions, they abide by the rules. And rules is what brings positive achievement, progress, both for men and for women. So they look at this and say, women have courage. And that is why when you put a woman in a position, you see the progress the woman will make more than the males. It's not because she's tough. It is because the men who occupy those positions, they are running away from applying the rules. And every institution, even in the home, there are rules. And women superintend in the rules of their homes. So I agree with her there, but it is not because women are difficult. No, we should jettison that, because that will drive a lot of women away. We have what it takes. The rules for men and women on leadership position are the same. We don't have to change. God has given it to us to look at all the balls in the air. When the man is not there, the woman is the breadwinner. That tells you that the woman has it. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Prof, for that contribution, and we are grateful for your participation throughout. So this is all time will permit us to do. Thank you, Professor Edu-Buandoh, for that insightful presentation. I have learned so much from you. I'm still going to learn a lot from you. And I know that a lot of gain some nuggets that we are going to apply. Some are just climbing up the ladder. Some are up there, and some are aspiring to go even higher. And all the insights, advice, and literature that you have shared with us is going to go a long way to make our lives better, irrespective of gender, both male and female, because the nuggets that you've shared applies to all. Thank you very much, Prof. So, dear participants, we've come to the end of today's webinar. Let me take this opportunity to also inform you that this webinar is qualified for a certificate. So if you want a certificate, kindly send us an email, and that we would discuss with you how you can get it. It's 100 Ghana cedis, and you can pay it and we'll get your certificate to you. You can also send us a mail anytime at IEPA. Sorry, I think let me get the email address rightly for all of us. You can send us an email at iepa.ocpr@ucc.edu.gh on all the discussions that we've had and any suggestions or contribution or comments you have. Thank you. Now I'll request all of us to do one thing, and if it's possible for you to open your videos so that we can see your face, and we'll take one big smiley picture for posterity. So if we can all turn on our videos, so we'll take one video, one big image for posterity. So let's see. I'm counting up to 5, and we take the picture. 1, 2, 3, and a 4, and a 4.5, and a 4.5, and a 5. So you're taking the picture now. Everyone say cheese.
Cheese.
Again. So thank you very much for your time. Our next webinar will be coming on the 26th of May, and we'll do well to communicate that around, and you can join in. Thank you and have a wonderful day. And also let's look forward to having a relaxing holiday as it comes about. Bye-bye. Thank you from all of us. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prof. D.